Good morning. Welcome to Saturday special of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. Every country's culture and philosophy are shaped, transformed, and transmuted by its mythology. That's a crux. And when you ignore the mythology, you ignore the subtle nuances of the culture, of the civilization, of the background, of the history of that country. And the Greek mythology plays a very important role in our understanding of concepts like democracy, justice, nation states. So there's an imperative need for understanding the contribution made by the Greek philosophy, concepts. But when you study the Greek philosophy, you cannot ignore the fact that the identity, the similarity, the close affinity between the Greek mythology and the Indian mythology is so close that it looks like a mirror image. And when you look at the ancient Greek and ancient Indian philosophy based on the mythology, in order to appreciate the modern pluralistic global order, then you understand how similar they are. As a matter of fact, I have always been saying that they are too similar. And not only are the stories similar, the gods, the customs, the traditions, they are similar. So mythologically, they are close knit and it looks as though the alter ego. And when we talk of the global village, globalization, it's heartening when I see a Chinese author writing about Hinduism. Would that be different from the European point of view? And that is where the distinction comes. But to draw the links between the Indian cultural concepts and those in ancient Greek culture is not to say they are exactly the same. There are some modification at different places, but basically there is such a affinity that if you read one, study one, automatically your attention is riveted to the other, and you say, well, I've seen the same thing in Indian philosophy, in Indian mythology. And you have to appreciate the fact that there are connections with different depictions depending on the socio-cultural setup of it. You don't need to appreciate the truth. You need to appreciate a truth, which may not accommodate all truths. As I have already said, truth is not absolute. It changes. And there are many innumerable Greek mythological stories underlying comparison, and we can draw between them and the Indian counterparts. As a matter of fact, after studying the Greek mythology and the Indian mythology, I find that possibly when the Aryans were shifting from Central Asia, somewhere near Mesopotamia or near modern Persia, Turkey, they diverted. One group went to Greece, the other came to India. So the basic stories remain the same, but the local coloring was given to them. As a field of study, comparative mythology has been in existence for a couple of centuries. And the scholars who have drawn connection between the two origins of the different cultures. Let's think out of the box and draw parallels between the East and the West. And you would find that the Kipling, when he said East is East and West is West, and never the twain was meet, sometimes he seems to be an uneducated Philistine, incapable of thought. Either he had not studied Indian mythology or the Greek mythology, Indian culture or the Greek culture, Indian philosophy, Greek philosophy. Otherwise, he would never have said that they cannot meet, the East and West cannot meet. As a matter of fact, they met long back. And if I extend the analogy of a man, is one human being with one arm being India, the other arm being Greece. So let's have a look at the some parallels between the Greek and the Indian mythology. Now, Dionysus and Shiva. Now, Dionysus is a Greek god, son of Zeus and Semele, and he is considered in the Greek mythology to be the god of fertility and wine, associated with intoxication, madness, breakdown of culture. Dionysus is believed to have two sides to him. His obsession with wine can go, on one hand, with a spread of ecstasy, and on the other hand, lead to rage and destruction. And his popularity can be traced to the first millennium BC. Imagine that, when he was worshipped by Mycenaean Greeks. Now, the moment you look at the story of the Dionysus and his attributes, you are reminded of Lord Shiva, who is revered for his energy, for his thunder, for his creative powers. And that is something which is unparalleled. Just like Dionysus, Shiva too has both benevolent and malevolent sides. As an ascetic who dwells on Mount Kailash with his wife Parvati, Shiva is celebrated for the ideals of domesticity. However, he has a fierce side to him that sees him slay demons. Similar to Dionysus, Shiva is often associated with intoxication and madness that can both create and destroy. The creator and the destroyer. So both gods represent the same virtues, same thoughts, same passions, same attributes. Then, Icarus and Daedalus are the two heroes in Greek mythology. And you find the alter egos in Jetu and Sympathy. The Greek mythological character, Daedalus, was the first mentioned by Homer in his epic Iliad. And Daedalus, as believed by Homer, was believed to be a skilled craftsman who created a labyrinth where a minotaur, and minotaur was what? Half man, half bull, and he was held captive by the order of the king of Crete. Following this creation of labyrinth, Daedalus, along with his son Icarus, was locked up in a tower, so he could not impart his knowledge to the others. The same with the story is that Shah Jahan had ordered the hands of the craftsman who created Taj Mahal to be cut off. So what happened then? In order to escape the jail, Daedalus created wings for himself and his son using feathers and wax. And during the flight towards freedom, Daedalus was believed to have warned his son not to get too close to the sun because the sun would melt the wax and the wings would be separated. However, Icarus was in good mood, soared high above the skies, went so close to the sun that the wings fell down and he crashed to the earth. Now, the story of Icarus and Daedalus is a part of the ancient Greek philosophy called hubris. And then the same story you find a parallel with Jetu and Sympathy as narrated in Ramayana. However, unlike the Greek tale, there is a difference. The story of Jetu and Sympathy is one of the fraternal affection. They are not sons and daughters. Jetu took pride in his power of flight and reached so close to the sun that his wings were about to be destroyed. But then his brother Sympathy decided to spread his own wings in order to shield his brother. And in the process, Sympathy lost his wings and spent the rest of his life without them. So, as I said, minor deviations, minor adjustments, but basically, essentially, stories are absolutely identical. Then Iliad and Ramayana are both epics, great poems. But while Indian thought gave Ramayana the status of a scripture, Iliad remained just an epic, a poetic form. So several scholars have found linkages between the Greek epic and Ramayana, in particularly between the Trojan War and Satyavartha. There Helen is kidnapped, here Sita is kidnapped. And then the war takes place. But then there's again a small distinction. And that's because of the cultural variation. While Helen falls in love with Paris, Sita does not. She's abducted by Ravana. And both in Iliad and Ramayana, unfortunately, end on tragic notes. And even the victors in both were not happy despite having won. Rama had a feeling that Ram had a feeling that Ravana was a great man, and he was. And his killing was justified. But still, killing of a capable man does cause anger. And then what happened to Sita? She was banished when she was pregnant. So there was a note of sadness. And if you look at the 5th century BC text, Natya Shastra of Bhartamuni, I don't know whether you have read or not, but I'll suggest you read it. And when I read it, I found that the description of performing arts in Indian subcontinent has an essential quality of mythological stories, and that was the necessity of happy ending. However, the Ramayana ending on a tragic note, similar to the Greek one, makes one wonder whether the latter was inspired by the former or vice versa, as I have a feeling that they are the branches of the same tribe traveling and then parting, but the basic mythological stories remained in the minds of the people and then got a local covering. But that's not enough. Let's go further. Look at Hercules and Krishna. When the Greek ambassador and historian Megasthenes, you all have read it, he visited the court of King Chandragupta Maurya in Patliputra. Patliputra is the ancient name of the city of Patna, which is the capital of Bihar state in India. Megasthenes was believed to have made reference to Lord Krishna in his work Indica. Now, Indica was written in Greek, and I read it in translation. But when I read it, I found that Krishna's account in Megasthenes' work is addressed to the Greek half-god Hercules. Now, Krishna is a complete god. He is reincarnation of Vishnu. He is an avatar of Vishnu, which Hercules is not. But what is Hercules? Now, look at it, the way Megasthenes. He says Hercules, that is the clan of Hari. And then, thus he associated with Krishna. Hercules, Hercules. And this division of Hercules by Megasthenes sends a wave. Now, this association might be purely accidental, and one cannot rule out that possibility. But this apart, there are striking similarities in the mythological tales of Hercules and Krishna, and you can't ignore them. For instance, the image of Lord Krishna fighting the serpent Kaliya can be found reflected in the image of Hercules fighting Hydra, a serpent with many heads, and conquering it. So basic story remains the same. The covering is there, the attention is there. And these are just some of the instances. As a matter of fact, I found in one of the papers I read by one Dr. Patnaik that there are more than 50 such similarities. The Greek gods live on Mount Olympus, and we have seen Lord Shiva living on Kailash, and all the gods live on the mountains as well. So, and the gods came down to help mankind when the fight was there. They were active participants. Even Mahabharata, Lord, Sun God comes and takes away and blesses the god, Arjun and Karna. Indra comes and takes away the armor of Karna. So that way we find that the close similarity between the two mythology are too subtle, too many, and cannot be ignored. And this, in fact, leads one to conclude that they are essentially identical and like lost half brothers. They are lost. But then the scholars came up and found the similarities. And it gives one a sense of deja vu that these countries separated by thousands of miles have this identical culture, and that similarity is been noticed not now, but it was noticed as far back when Maurya Empire was at its height and Magnus was ambassador to the court of Chandragupta Maurya. That strikes a bell, and the bell is that the mankind essentially has the same hopes, the same tales, and same aspirations. And this similarity shows the identity of mankind, which forges under adverse circumstances with tales of fortitude, courage, and also spirituality, divinity that pervades the commonality. Thank you.